So the first layer is always slow because it needs adhesion. And to me, it's kind of funny that you can print such a super thin layer. Still have ideas about that. It's almost like a film. Well, anyhow, this is printing. And I got a shitload of ideas here. And the reason is some measurements I made from the basic versions I created before. I designed also, well designed, it's gonna use different kind of foamies because I'm interested in seeing if it kind of, what it does exactly to the distortion. Now, I'm still limited to the 14mm wide tape, so a foam pea like this, which is 50mm in width, I cannot use right now. So the idea is here, for instance, to create, well, not completely actually, I made a mistake. This should be tapered as well, like this. Something like that. And the idea is having a wider range of resonance frequency in this case. But mostly I'm interested in is because I used, well, I'll show the foamies themselves. Ow, fuck. Hey, look, what a weird thing. Why do you have this at your kitchen? That's weird. Almost like you put it there. Kind of weird. Who has this in their kitchen? Set up like this. That's weird. You are weird. Let me get these plates out of the way. This might not be the best place to film it, actually. But the other room is kind of a mess. So yeah. So I measured, this is the one that uses the traditional kind of cutting away material, and then you have to weed it out, and then you have a membrane. So the first one I made with 3 magnets on the back. I don't know if I have a measurement of that one particular. If I do, I think I have. I'll show it right now. Now the biggest problem is they all measure pretty nice at a certain volume. After that, the third harmonic rises pretty badly. And the weird thing is that usually it's the second harmonic that rises because there's only magnets at the back. But there is something happening in the membrane or maybe the foamy bits that makes it do this. Of course, if you higher the volume, you have more distortion. But if you look at this picture, crossed way too low, but just to see what it does and hopefully find out why it's doing that. You can see that the second harmonic goes up, which is normal, but also the third has like a weird kind of rising distortion the lower you go. Now, that might be because it's playing, it plays lower and it's not able to move the amount of air or something, but it's kind of weird. It never looks like this. I've never seen it, let's say. So it's kind of weird. Cut a different foamies like I showed you on the monitor. This is like straightforward, but wider foam than I used. So in these panels right now, I use this tiny foam on both sides. Boop. Not much. So I think, and we'll test that, or at least I'm busy testing that. it might need a little bit more wider foam to like control the membrane on these sides. This is like really tiny. It might not do as much. If I lower the space where the foam is in, or higher, make it a little bit higher, the foam instantly pushes the membrane towards the magnet. It's kind of weird why it always chooses the most terrible way. So never to the front where there is no magnet, always against the magnets, which makes it like flap around against the magnets at lower frequencies. So I made like a gazillion of these frames with all the different foamy bits, but the foam was a little bit too high. And then if you put the both pieces together, they always push the membrane against the magnet. Now I've had with these Carver kind of style tweeters many times that if I use foam that is larger than this ridge here, so it extends a little bit, I thought, well, if you have two foamy bits and you put them together, they both squish at the same amount. Somehow this is never happening. It always forces the membrane closer to the magnets. Well, not always, but mostly. So what you get is, if you have a left and a right, one might be pushed towards the magnets and will, hit the magnets. The other one might be a little bit pushed towards the front, although usually against the magnets, but they have an SPL difference. So I thought this should extend a little bit. Now in this thing I remade, you can hardly see it peeping out. So it's almost the same. And when I think of it, this membrane of course is corrugated, so it's not 12 micron thick. It's actually the corrugation amount of thick. So I think it's crucial to have the foam just slightly proud, maybe not even proud. Maybe it should be like flush with this piece of plastic. As for now, it is like 0.1 or 0.2 millimeter proud. That's far less than I tried for these frames that I already put in the bin, because it didn't work. It pushed it against the magnets and you cannot even make a measurement to see what the foam does. It just screws up everything. So now I made this one with the new spacing, and I'm gonna try what this does. As for now, this has quite a lot of room, but it will be pushed in a little bit, but no clue how much. I made also like the frame a little bit smaller because I got tired of printing all this plastic. Not alone because it costs material, but also it takes a long time. And after I screwed up so many frames. So I'm a complete noob in 3D printing, as you can see. It's a very simple thing. I also noticed I printed some of the frames at a higher layer height, and then the magnets does not sit as they're supposed to be. So they were also sitting a little bit more forward towards the membrane. Too bad, it only saved me like 5 minutes, but it did screw up the whole frame. So this one, well, I'm not sure. I did not measure them yet, but hopefully it works. I'm gonna use it single-ended first. Bloop. And then use these nuts. I could like tap it, but that's not in the design right now. It just uses nuts, even like big bullnose nuts. But that doesn't mind for, or bother me for testing. At least there is some room, which is a good thing. Let's measure the impedance before I test it. Because I recycled this membrane, so I'm not sure if I might have shorted out somewhere. That would be not cool. Yeah, I promised to give someone a tweeter I was working on. I thought all was good, and now I'm 3.4. Yeah, that's the way it should be. Now, 3.4 is really nice, and I can measure all the membranes, and probably they are the same. 3.3, 3.4. But since the spacing is so tiny, I actually should use like a little bit more high voltage tester, I think. So I might get my Megger out. Not right now, but you will. Yeah, the problem is that, of course, 3.4 ohms is not the range where you use a Megger normally. But it could be interesting to see if it might short out at a little bit higher voltage. I don't know what the voltage is this is testing at, but I guess it's like a few volts. And it might be interesting to test it at like 20 volts or something. Now my Megger is more in the range, I think, of a few hundred volts, or maybe a few thousand even. So I don't know. I don't know if my Megger is suitable for that, but I might need another measurement device to see if this method of cutting coil is not shorting out at higher voltages. Because it might not when I measure it with this, and then when in use it might. Who knows? Okay, I'm gonna measure this. As you can see, kind of a weird thing. And it's mostly based, the weird thing is actually the foamy bit. You can see it's like tapered and then again tapered. And the measurement is here. I must say, if I play it down to 300 Hertz, it will hit the foil. So that's not very useful. But let's say, I believe I chose 700 Hertz at 24 dB per octave. And then you get this, which looks rather decent still. Looks rather decent. Could be better, but it's decent. What I think, even if this foamy bit is almost not sticking out because I lowered the foam, I think it has to be almost entirely flat with the spacer and let just the corrugation sink into the foam. So that's what I'm printing right now. I'll show it in, I don't think in this video because it's still printing, but that might be an option. Another thing is, I noticed it's kind of weird. So there is a certain distance now because it's sitting on the foil and not pressed down. I could press it down like this. Oh, but now I cannot touch it. But what I noticed is if I added a magnet in here and I put it on top of it, the spacing on this side looks much bigger than it is on this side. I don't know what it is. Maybe it is the way I put this one on top of that one. Maybe that kind of screws up the amount of compression on each foamy bit. But it looks to be that the added piece needs to have even less foam sticking out, because it will push the membrane into the magnets. At least that's what it looks like. Or increase the, well, no, it's not increasing. like getting these magnets, if you might make it push-pull, more towards the membrane. Either way, one of the two. I guess the foam bit will be the first thing to try. So yeah, I'm still printing again and again, but I ran out of, or at least I run out of foils. But I should actually test if this foil is shorting out at a certain voltage. So maybe I'll just assemble it real quick. Yeah, this is... okay, I have to think about this a little bit harder. And maybe do use the scope. I believe it's a 2-channel scope. So that should work. Yeah. Well, anyway, so why this kind of weird thingy? The idea, for me at least, and it might be too much, but the idea was in the middle it moves more freely than on the outer edges. And maybe this bend here is a little bit too much, but it might ensure that the whole membrane reaches its X-max before it like sounds really terrible, instead of just in the middle and then half of the part is never used. So that was my idea. And the as I told you, the foamy bits, also these magnets are blocking like everything right now because this is here. So it might need to be wider, I think. So first, I'm printing a new frame and I already made the foamy bits for it, like the same that are in here. And I'll leave this one as is and compare the two, see what the difference is. Now, if the difference is really small, it might just be, well, because it's handwork. If it's like a little bit bigger, then I know one thing works better than the other. As you can see, it's just a trial and error for me right now. I mean, they're already useful and they can sound really nice, but I want to have the lowest possible distortion, as low as possible. Well, I'll just, go for it. I mean, yeah, why not? So this is going to be a very boring and probably a thing that I have to do a gazillion times, but who knows? And I see that my recording is really low in volume. That's nice. It's nice it changed it. I'll change it when, well, for the next time. See ya.